G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Those of you who are familiar with my channel will be aware that on the 5th of September I made a movie and posted it titled The Worst Main Street in Australia, Glen. At the time that I made the movie, I fairly described Grey Street, Glen as being a variable orienteering course, and even the Glen Examiner, which gave unrelentingly upbeat positive praise to the progress of the construction project, found that the meteorological conditions even at the end of October could be fairly described as being sweltering. And it was around about the end of October that I had a conversation with the editor of the Glen Examiner, wherein it was suggested to me that seeing as I'd made one video describing my theories on the merits or otherwise of the Main Street construction project, which the newspaper unremittingly refers to as an upgrade on the theory that all change is obviously progress, it was suggested that I should wait until the entire project was finished and then make another movie showing how marvellous it was all going to look when it was finished. So it's probably unsurprising that by Remembrance Day's Glen Examiner, the story should be on the front page that the town square and the Main Street beatification project is now officially sparkling, particularly after the new resurrection of the Chamber of Commerce known as the Business in Glen Group had organised a special cleaning bee to try and remove all the construction dust from the venue. Though it was disappointing that more business owners didn't opt into the washdown, it was great to see the street looking fresh ahead of the Christmas shopping season. Everything was washed down. It was a bit disappointing that more shopkeepers didn't ask for their shops to be done, because we weren't going to wash down shops who didn't request it in case water got in, but we washed down those that asked to be done, and it all looks now sparkly and clean. So, okay, before we go in and have a look at what the Main Street appears to the naked eye now, on the 20th of November, when the air temperature in the forest at head height is 30 degrees, whereas in the middle of the clearing, the liquid alcohol thermometer states that it's 42 degrees, and the electric thermo probe from my Digitech clamp meter says that the air temperature is 36.9 passing by me at the moment. There we go, that's a better sun angle on it. Okay, right. So here we are where I began the first movie about the Glen Main Street, where at the moment the air temperature is 37.7 degrees of the Celsius. See that on the screen? While if we take the temperature of a piece of white vintage concrete, here we see the temperature of white concrete. Is that actually going to print? Yeah, there we go. 44 degrees. .43.5 anyway. Okay, so we're back down to the air temperature. Let's go and see what the temperature is on the black bitumen road ceiling. Okay, thermo probe touching the bitumen now. .60 degrees. There we go, 60 degrees and climbing. There's the thermal probe. 63.2 degrees, 63.3 degrees. And where there used to be white concrete, there is now 5 metres by 225 metres times 2, aka 2,250 square metres of black bitumen. Lots and lots and lots of very black bitumen. A marvellous solar thermal space heater, totalling 0.55 of an acre, or 2 municipal housing blocks. To say nothing of the Celtic tattoos in front of the anti-ram raid bollards in front of the town hall, with flower pots and trees. Here we're comparing the view with the as yet undesecrated concrete slabs 8 inches thick laid here by order of Alderman Ward, the town mayor, back in, I think it was 1929. And we also see the old lighting system, which has since been replaced by the all-new LED high efficiency system that allegedly was to meet the Australian lighting standards. It is interesting that down this end of the main street, the light posts are 45 metres apart, whereas here in the as yet undisturbed part of Grey Street, the light posts are 22 metres per light post. They're half the pitch of the lampstands in the new allegedly improved LED lit part of the town. And again with an air temperature of 36 degrees Celsius. $54.8. But that was right there on the edge of the black bitumen, and because this is in fact a working main street with traffic through it, I'm afraid it's not actually safe for me to go out there into the middle and show you the 44 degrees that it will be out there. 36.3 degrees in the shade. Whereas in the actual town square end of the main street construction project, the light poles are as close as 18 metres apart, some are 35 metres apart, and this one in front of the Westpac Bank is 50 metres from its nearest companion, looking south that is. If you were to stand at the foot of that lamppost there, the one that's 50 metres away from its southern companion, it's only 25 metres away from the one at the north end of the new Glen Main Street solar thermal space heater. Now it may be an obscure and little known fact, but these lights on top of the Boer War Memorial, they're the last remaining example of the original electric lights that went into Glen Main Street in the 1880s. Or at least they're a replica installed and electrified by Len Bell, who was pretty much the first electrician in town. So he put those there in the 1920s, whereas these ones are the 1970s vintage replica put there by Athol Thomas, who was Len Bell's apprentice. So at one fell swoop, we've got rid of the heritage replica lighting system, replaced it with something that looks like Port Macquarie, installed a solar thermal space heater in the face of climate change to operate most effectively in summer, because in winter the sun angle's too low. 24 car parks in this block alone have been replaced with flower pots. The deciduous, non-native, noxious feral pests, ornamental trees, have been put in specially designed surrounds which have drainage, but like the flower pots, there is sadly no provision to water the captive plants that are stuck in the main street, amidst the decoratively imprinted painted bitumen. And it is marvellously decorative, I must say that. What a pity it's a thermal disaster. The obligatory Celtic tattoo stuck in the middle of the town's square is apparently a sideways nod to the Australian Celtic standing slivers, which are on what used to be called Martin's Lookout, and the ongoing fraudulent attempt to claim that there are more Celts in the Glen Severn Shire than there are in any other shire proportionately in Australia. And I suppose Mars alone, being the god of war, would know quite why we need to have serried ranks of bollards to protect the town hall from potential ram raiders. But as you can see, security is a feature, almost a preoccupation of the current management of the Glen Severn Council. Got a few engineering problems too, because the people from Port Macquarie don't understand quite how hot it gets up here, and it turns out that cars with power steering on a hot day are heavy enough to dig up and leave footprints in the marvellous new bitumen, which makes up our new solar thermal space heater, which has 8-inch thick concrete slabs underneath it for thermal mass and heat retention to make the place absolutely uninhabitable on a hot summer night. On the flip side, apparently the job actually did have to be done. The main street needed to be dug up. A couple of reasons. We'll discount the street lighting. We've kind of disproved that with the distances. But we have issues with stormwater drainage. The old pipes were 6 inches, 15 centimetres in diameter. The new pipes are 2.5 feet, 850 mil in diameter. So hopefully it'll take 6 times the size storm before the main street floods. At least that's the west side of the main street, which did used to flood fairly regularly in storms. The other thing is the water delivery pipes. They were asbestos ferro cement. The council was not legally permitted to continue to allow the people in the main street to drink asbestos fibres. So yes, they did have to dig up the main street. Water pipes, drainage. There's another issue to do with electrical power supply, which has, for 130 years, 120 anyway, been wired up underneath the awnings from shop to shop, because the main street was here before electricity was in the main street. So now the power is underground, the water pipes are big enough, and the storm drainage pipes are big enough. But as for the rest of it, the upgrading of the look of the main street, I think it was a complete waste of time. It was counterproductive. It was a solar thermal heating disaster in the face of climate change and global warming. And in a town made up of predominantly ageing geriatrics, there are now 24 less car parks in the main street, and the main street is now likely to be 10 degrees hotter in air temperature than it was before the solar thermal space heater was installed. No doubt somebody's going to claim there was never any conscious plan to hunt the geriatrics into the air-conditioned comforts of the large supermarkets. Look at that. Pavement failure within 1 month of installing a parking lot. And it's not just in one location either. These divots are all over the silly thing. And I would have to say that the only sensible suggestion now is to resurface it with white bitumen, as was used on Waterloo Range and as was suggested to the Glen Severn Council on Business in Glen letterhead 3 months ago. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. There's the update. Ciao.